Today we're going to learn about shading with pencil. If you took any art lessons or took it in school, a lot of times your teacher would teach you to shade with your pencil, dark to light, just like this. But to make it look smoother, you were to take your finger and blend it out. That's not great, okay? It's not considered a professional way, and it's also not super attractive. So we're going to teach you a different way of doing it. What I want you to do is draw a long, thin rectangle. And at the far end, I want you to use your pencil and color it in as dark as you can get it. Okay? This is the shadow in black. A lot of times I'll ask my students, what's the darkest color? And they'll say black. And I'll say, well, what about the shadow in black? As you can see on here, this is a black pen, but the shadow in black is darkest. Okay, so that's what that is. Next to it, you're going to make it just a little bit lighter. This would equate to your dark colors, like forest green, black, dark navy, that kind of thing. In the middle, you're going to go a little bit lighter. And this is your regular colors, like, regular, like red, orange, that kind. Next to that, we're going to go a little bit lighter. This is going to be for your pastels, your pink, your light green, yellow. Okay, and your last one is going to be super light. And I'm leaving just a little white on the end. And see, sometimes in order to get it to work, you kind of have to get the other ones a little bit darker so that it'll show up a little bit better. But then you've got your steps. And this would be the shadow in white. Okay, now we're ready to put our shading skills to use. You're going to draw a hot dog shape. A straight line coming down, a straight line coming down, and then a curved line at the bottom. You've made a cylinder. Now we're ready to shade it. When you shade the shape first. So this has two shapes. So we're going to start here on this side, and I'm going to hold my pencil so that the side of the pencil is coming in contact with the paper. And I'm going to push down harder and then get softer as it goes across. Push down harder and then get softer as it goes across. Now, you might say, well, you're not staying in the lines. It's only kindergarten teachers that make people stay within the lines, guys. You do not have to stay within the lines. That's the reason there are erasers. I'm going to get a little bit darker near the base. The other thing is when you're shading, if you shade a round thing with rounded lines, it'll tend to look more round. So I'm going to erase up here and I'm going to erase down here. Not particularly crazy about that particular eraser. I have a little one that's actually used for drafting that's smaller. It comes to a little point. It's a little easier to work with. Okay, so I've gotten that. Now I'm ready to shade the top. We're going to shade it so that the top of the cylinder is open, so the right side will be darker. And then the left side. Gradual transition. Okay. Now, a lot of times people stop there. The problem is, in reality, things do not have a dark outline. Like that's right there, it doesn't have a dark outline. The reason you put a line is to show, or you think there's an edge, is because this is darker than what's below it. So over here, you see we don't see a line, and so that makes sense, and I'm going to kind of hide that line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a table. And to do that, I'm simply going to draw a line from one side to the other. Then I'm going to shade in the table. All right. I know I need my table a little bit darker. Than the edge. Erase down there. You might wonder why I'm using that little brush, because sometimes if you're drawing and you go right along, if you brush across it, you'll smear it in the same way you did right here. All right, and I'm going to do the same kind of table on this side, so it's got to be a little bit darker toward the back, lighter as it comes forward. And you notice how when I change surfaces, I change directionality of my lines. That also is a clue to the viewer that something different is happening. Now, because the light's coming from this side, that means I'm going to have a cast shadow over here. So I need to get that cast shadow in. And the interesting thing about cast shadows is you may notice that it's a little bit lighter closer to the object. That's because that's the way it happens. Okay? All right, so we've gotten all these edges figured out, but and that looks fine because I don't see a line here, but right here I do see a line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to lightly erase that line. And to make that edge appear, I'm just going to simply get the background a little bit darker. And I can go all the way around. And see, that's the nice thing, is if it's lighter in the background, you can actually color right over the edge and nobody's going to even know anything has happened. And that is all there is to it.